Hi, everyone. My name is Neil. I am the CEO of Andrina and now Dawn. And I think we got a bunch of fun stuff to talk about, you guys here. But first, want to give a huge thanks to Sal and Mahesh for having us here. I remember the last DePIN summit that we had in SF and how the interest has grown. It's kind of been incredible just to see the DePIN days all the way from Helium and before to where we are now. And so what I want to talk to you guys a little bit about is really getting a handle on what the DePIN vision is, and ultimately I've got an argument to make after that. But to walk you guys through my thinking about it, we're all building to something pretty cool here. And what I'd like to convey, or at least kind of coalesce some ideas around, is it's a little bit more helpful if we have a concrete thing in mind about what we're trying to build towards, and then figuring out exactly how to get there and all of the right cases that we need to get there. So I'm going to start this off by talking a little bit about what I think the DePIN vision is and kind of my worldview about it all, and then we'll go towards what I think is also the best way to achieve it. So first, if we want to analyze this question, the very first thing we got to do is ask ourselves, what exactly is DePIN? And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention on Twitter for a while, but there's been a lot of debate about what are all of these definitions, how do we think about it, and I think on both ends we've got some good takes and we've got some, shall we say, not so good takes. Things that are looking from, it has stuff to do with verifying various physics-based things, all the way to looking at the underlying service layer of these things. I think there's a lot of different ways to go looking at it. Can't say, I'd agree with some of the stuff on the right side, but one way or another, we're all kind of aligned along somewhat of the same vision. And I guess to wrap it up, you could always say, but of course my definition is the right one. But I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek because one way or another, I think we all kind of agree with this in some shape or form. And the point being is that however you really choose to define it, everybody at this summit kind of believes in the same thing one way or another, which is just a big transfer of the economic value that is located in infrastructure equity all the way back to the end household, right? That's what we're all building towards one way or another, where Helium led the way, where, the cell tower was now located inside people's homes. And I think that's the ambitious vision that we need to keep in mind, right? It's saying, how do we transfer this infrastructure so that it is controlled, powered, and then the end household is the one that realizes the economic sovereignty of that entire opportunity. So thanks to the power of ChatGPT, I can also do a pretty good job of trying to show you guys what I think this future actually looks like, right? We kind of agree the economic form that it takes, but what does it actually look like? And in my mind, this is what I imagine. I imagine that every single home in the world has a little black box inside of it that just does everything, right? Everything from managing your power to managing your internet and sourcing your internet, all the way to getting you extra cloud resources and selling your extra cloud resources. It takes the entire digital infrastructure highway that we know and we live and we operate on, and it just moves it into your individual household. And this entire black box has been the fascination of my entire DePIN career. I've been always trying to ask myself, what does it look like? But I think more importantly, and it's one that I think everybody also needs to ask a little bit more, is what's the business case that actually gets that black box into people's households, right? I like to think about it as a Trojan horse, right? Because most of the Web 2 audience isn't going to be able to relate with this grand vision. So what is the business case that brings this box into people's homes, not just if you're a Web 3 user, but also if you're a Web 2 user? And this business case, I guess, has been the fascination that I've been thinking about for a while. And I guess that finally brings me to the argument that I'm trying to make behind all of this, is that I think tokens are nice, and we've demonstrated that tokens can do an incredible job of creating supply in DePIN. But I think if you really want to get mass market adoption where something like this vision is achievable across every household in the world, there's got to be actually more incentives beyond that. And yes, utility goes a long way, unique utility goes a long way. But the argument that I'm making here is that what will really drive Web 2 consumers is cash, right? If you can find a way to immediately impact their bottom line without a speculative consideration, that's what I think is going to put you up on another leg up. And of course, I'm biased when I say all of this, but I believe that wireless internet is the best way to give them that. And going off of what Meltem said earlier, in the process of commoditizing internet, my goal is to create this bigger vision of what DePIN, I think, ought to be. And if I want to explain to you why wireless internet is the way to go about doing it, the easiest way you got to understand it is just looking at the financials of what it takes to actually deliver internet, right? So on the left, we've got my internet bill, right? I'm a Verizon Fios customer at my home. I'm paying $128 per month to get some pretty okay internet from them. But when I first started building off Andrina, we're an internet service provider operating in 10 states. I quickly realized that the part that blew my mind was that at a data center, that $128 only cost them 50 cents, right? It's clear that there is a huge arbitrage to be made on internet, right? I mean, that's over a 99% margin, right? What other stuff comes with a 99% margin there? So it's clear that internet is massively arbitraged when you look at the numbers from looking at internet at data centers all the way to the cost to bring into people's homes. And the whole idea behind what we're building at DAWN, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Wireless Networks, is to allow homes to actually contribute to that arbitrage, right? If you can find a way where homes can contribute to that price spread, that we're operating in a scenario where people are able to get massive upside without even considering tokens. And as I kind of alluded to earlier here, right, that's what DAWN is all about. We're building a protocol that's all about providing decentralized broadband that uses new wireless tech. And it just enables consumers to participate in that arbitrage. And you can see in this scenario, right, you can imagine a world where your gigabit internet at home, instead of being $128, maybe can only be $10, right? I don't mind if, out of the Andrina side, selling internet for $10 because at the data center side, I'm only paying 50 cents for it. And meanwhile, as you look to kind of expand all across the world, people are sharing internet all the time with each other. If you could give them the means to share it better and with a trustless layer, I could take my $128 Verizon connection and just share with my neighbor. I charge them $30, and that is some meaningful impact, and I don't have to worry about using tokens to actually recoup my investment. And so I think this is kind of it's a good place to a little bit switch to what actually is the tech behind it all. And I could ramble on and on about the history of telecom and how we got to these little bits of revolution here. But what we've built at Andrina, which we're now rolling out towards DAWN, is these are the three major components that go behind it all. On the first end, you've got a robotic antenna system, which essentially just allows you to automate the delivery of wireless networks, right? If you're gonna pull in the consumer to help you build out a wireless network, you gotta make their life easy, and that's what that technology is for. The second piece is probably the world's cheapest enterprise Wi-Fi system that's ever been built, right? We manufacture that ourselves, and then we've shipped over 12,000 units of that so far. So we work with multifamily apartment buildings and single-family homes. The point being is that if you're trying to share internet with your neighbors, a cheap Wi-Fi system that is incredibly high performant is probably the way to go about doing it. And the last one, which I guess is a little bit on the more technical side, but it's also an important one, what we've built is a cloud-native router. And all that really means is it's a fancy term for allowing you to do software routing on commodity generic purpose hardware. And the point that I'm hoping to bring all of your guys' attention to is that's what I think the little black box looks like and what it's going to start looking like, right? My whole pitch with all of this is, can I use cheap internet to get these 3 bits of technology into everybody's homes? And that is that black box. So to give you a sense of the plan of what we're going to be doing rolling out forward, and I'll wrap this up pretty quick here. We at Andrina have built a wireless network that provides line-of-sight coverage to over 3 million households across 10 different states. So we're going to be launching DAWN across our network with 3 other internet providers in the space, right? We take people that have extra internet supply. It doesn't matter whether you're an internet provider, a household, and we give you the means to be able to resell that and share your internet so that you don't have to rely on Verizon, Comcast, et cetera. And the final bit to what we've got planned is we're also going to be doing some hardware sales to actually make it very easy for people to share internet with their neighbors at scale. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys. I think it's going to be a very fun future that we're building. Just wanted to give you a brief introduction and walk you through my vision, because if you talk to me about what we're building, I'm always going to be referring to that little black box. So hopefully you guys now know a little bit about why I'm actually very excited about it. So thanks guys for listening to me.